What did Geno Smith say? They tried to write me off, but I ain't right back. Well, y'all tried to write off the Minnesota Timberwolves. Y'all said there's no way they're done. Look at the way they got started. Oh, man, their defense, it sucks. Boo, boo, boo. But then if you look at this team, all of a sudden they're streaking, they're winning, they look great, and then they take down the vaunted OKC Thunder. Did I or did I not see, Chill, Anthony Edwards get in a seat, strap, come back, boom, bing, 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 step back, splash. Hey, and then you get Jaden Daniels off of you. I'm Ant Edwards. Come here, rip. Let's go, Minnesota. I saw Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves take it to another level, and all they are showing the people is that when it comes down to money time, we know Minnesota gonna beat it.
Of course, we talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves and how they haven't really beaten a lot of good teams, but hey, man, you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. You beat the teams that you're supposed to beat in the NBA, and that's what Minnesota has been doing. They've been beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. But as of late, I mean, if we being honest, Swiper, as of late, we kind of getting it going. I mean, I think they won 9 of their last 11, something like that. Yeah, I think they won 9 of their last 11. In the process of them winning 9 of their last 11, Anthony Edwards has been looking really good. Julius Randle hasn't been shooting the ball particularly well. I did not like him in that Oklahoma City game early, but he did get it going. But, I like what I'm seeing from Minnesota. You beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. I think they're a game and a half out the 2 spot right now. So, I mean, keep rolling. Keep doing what you guys are doing. And it's clear with Rudy Gobert, they got a shot. They 100% got a shot. No doubt.
Wait, Chill, when you say they beat the teams they're supposed to beat, are they supposed to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder?
No, I'm talking about the teams because I think that if I'm not mistaken, Ox, I think as of today in December of 2025, I think they're 3-8 or 3-9 against teams over 500. So the bad teams like the Clippers, Golden State Warriors, New Orleans, like you're supposed to beat those teams. This is what I was talking about, Ox, when I was talking about making the playoffs. If you can't beat these teams, then you can't make the playoffs. Because when we get into this time of the year, like right now, which is what I call the dog days of the season. This is the third of the season where we're going to find out what these teams are really made of. When you get to the end of the season, Swiper, you're going to see the teams that were here, how good they were during this stretch from around December the 18th up until the trade deadline. We're going to see how good those teams was. We're going to see those teams at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you got to obviously beat the teams that are below 500 to make the playoffs. That's how you rack up over 50 wins. But I don't even think that's the conversation for the Wolves. I think a lot of it was people were saying that we don't think they are one of the upper tier teams in the league based on how they're performing versus above 500 teams. Now, if you look at the schedule and you look at kind of how everything's laid out so far, OKC hasn't played a bunch of teams above 500. I think they played 9 games. They might be 6-3 in those games, if I remember correctly. That's exactly their record. Or it might be 6-2 now. With this loss to Minnesota, but obviously the Wolves, they've just struggled, especially in the clutch and then defensively as well. They've just not been as good as previous iterations of this team, and so that's really kind of hampering them a lot. But I will say, man, they do have a lot of lineup versatility, and I don't love Naj Reid's game, but I do think what he does allow for them is to have an additional ball handler and an additional shooter. He's a good floor spacer, but the problem is if you ask Wolves fans and people that are fans of Anthony Edwards, the Wolves, they don't have a point guard that they absolutely trust, very similar to the Houston Rockets, but they're just in a better situation because Dante's better. But they also don't have a backup big that they trust. And some of this is going to be, who down the stretch of the season is going to be able to take over that spot from Rudy Gobert, because I don't personally love the fact that they're playing Naj Reid at the 5. I don't love those minutes. He's not a good defender. And, he had that 2 years ago when him and Cat would be able to make it work. But just so far this year, his defense has just not been there. And he's small. And that's really hard to deal with. Now, he makes up for it supposedly with the offensive value on the other end. But, Zakarsky is not bad. He's young. He's 19 years old. But he's played some decent minutes this year. And I know Wolves fans want to see more of him. That way they don't have to watch Naj at the 5. But I think the Wolves, as the year goes on, they're going to continue to figure out what lineups work best for them. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is, playing really well now. There's a little bit of a down streak he had. I think Dante has been really important for this team this year. Julius has been good. So the Wolves are alive, man. Like, I don't know if a conference finals run is in their card again, because that would depend on how the field falls. I think that the Rockets, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, the Nuggets, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, and then the Thunder, those are still teams that I think are objectively better. And I'm not going to lie, like, maybe the Spurs too, with Victor Wembanyama. Like, the Spurs are 21-7.
I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves, with Rudy off the floor, they're a 120 defensive rating. With Rudy on the floor, they're like a 108 with him on the floor.
Fact check you. How possible?
Oh, look at Jill pulling out the horn.
It's something like that. He's like a 108.
They're a 108.7 and then a 120.8 without him.
Yes, so they fall off a cliff. Real talk. When Rudy's off the floor,
you know what that ball was.
They fall off a cliff when Rudy's off the floor.
I didn't know dunks and threes. Shout out to you for that.
Yeah. They fall off a cliff when Rudy's off the floor. Now, with that being said, I think that this group last night, I think without Giannis, I think that they walked in. I think Minnesota had Milwaukee come into their building, and they thought this was a chill out game. Like, we're gonna handle these dudes, only to find out that later on they were in a dogfight, and they didn't realize that Kevin Porter, especially considering Minnesota has a hole at their lead guard spot, and Kevin Porter took advantage of that. I personally think that Shannon would fit better at the league guard spot for them, but they just don't.
Shannon Jr. brother. No, brother. No, not yet.
I just think that he would fit better at the league guard spot.
But he's not saying to like handle the ball, or
yeah. I mean, that's what he did in college. That's who he was in college, and it should have. But the difference in Minnesota was they still had Mike Conley. So because they still had Mike Conley, they put him in a different space. Like, they put him on the wing, they put him in the corner instead of letting him be more that ball handling lead guard, so he can segue into that as Mike Conley started to fade out, which is clearly what he's doing right now.
I've been saying for the longest, I think that Minnesota should go look into the guy that just beat my team, via buzzer beater. The Rockets. Dennis Schroeder. I've been saying this now for months. I think Minnesota should invest in Dennis Schroeder. I think he should be running that unit over there. Because I don't think they need the point guard to be. Y'all are about to, fire sale and get rid of everybody because y'all suck. But I think Minnesota should get.
They just beat the Rockets. They beat the Rockets and Denver.
Okay, y'all lost like the Bulls and stuff. It happens. Didn't y'all lose to the Kings? Swipe.
Yes, they did.
Oh, he went remember. Mute. Okay, I couldn't. Okay, the talkative one went mute. I wasn't used to it. But Dennis Schroeder should be the point guard over there in Minnesota. That's how I feel. I think they should try to get Dennis.
You know who I want over there?
Who? I don't know who that is. I don't.
You just started.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Together. I
have no idea who that is. Yeah.
Who's that? Real talk. Who am I?
Yeah.
Is that Ja?
Are you Ja Morant?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah,
that's who I want over there in Minnesota.
Absolutely
can't wait.
Not.
I can't. I would love to see Ja Morant in Minnesota. That'd be a great. Personally, real talk, that would be a great situation for Ja Morant. Phenomenal,
no doubt.
Him and Rudy. Think about him and Rudy, him and Nas, him and Julius Randle, and then doing this without Anthony Edwards in the game too. Those minutes would be good. I would love to see him there.
But what about like when John and are on the court together?
I think they could work. John's
what about when they're outside together?
That too.
What about that?
That too. When they outside doing stuff they ain't got no business doing together.
Somebody said Kobe White. Yeah,
Minnesota wouldn't actually be a bad place for Ja off the strength that it's cold. It really ain't a lot to do in wintertime, so he wouldn't be outside like that. He really wouldn't, if you think about it.
It's a lot to do outside when you got hundreds of millions of dollars. You can find anything.
That is a fact.
You can stay warm. You can stay warm.
Chill. They'll be going back and forth with, hey, you got the private jet tab this time. I'm gonna cover it, bro. Right, we're gonna fly to Atlanta real quick. We'll be back. We're gonna fly to Vegas real quick. We'll be back. It don't take nothing for them to get on the plane.
But now, real talk, I do like that move though. Dennis Schroeder in Minnesota, that's not bad. They can have, actually Minnesota, they can have Dennis for Anthony Edwards.
Okay, brother. That's We know that's not happening.
Minnesota could have. Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I heard that. Yeah, I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. Did he say
He got
you
sent-
have
so-
him? I don't want to talk about the playoffs. With this group right now, what you've seen with them, what don't you like about them? Because there are a number of things that I think are really good about this Minnesota team.
Are without Nikhil Chill, they're a different team. They do not defend the same way at all. They don't have that dog. It's not gone, but it's not as doggy as it was. It was doggy dog last year. With Nikhil and the rest of that roster. Nikhil is an absolute animal. The reason why Ann is able to take breaks defensively is because they can just say, "Oh, Nikhil, you go get him. Jaden, you go get him." But now Ann, I think having to step into the role more, he's still doing a good job. They just don't have the same bite, man. They just can't guard guards the same way they used to. And I think in the Western Conference, especially, Chill, the Rockets are the only team that doesn't have a guard for real. They're the only one. Everybody else does. Denver got one. OKC got one. And then the Spurs got like 4. The Lakers got 3 or 2, depending on what you want to call LeBron.
2 of them.
Yeah. And then who else is in the Western playoffs right now, Chill?
Let's see, the San Antonio Spurs, Denver, the Lakers, Houston, Phoenix
got them.
Golden State.
Shout out,
yeah.
College Gillespie. Yeah, shout out to them.
Shout out to
Memphis is in it, and
yeah,
they don't have Ja, by the way, but and the Trailblazers as of right.
The Trailblazers got guards. Yeah, that's just a lot of guards to get through, man. That's a lot of guards to get through. Yeah. So I think that makes it harder. But I still think they're better. How do
the Blazers have guards and the Timberwolves don't?
Well, no. I was more so talking about defensively, like how the Timberwolves would be able to
on defense.
To maximize their personnel defensively. Yeah, but I do think that makes a difference for them this year. Which is why I think even like Jamal Murray, he's having a way better year versus the Timberwolves than he has in previous years. I think because Nikhil's not there, possibly partially because Nikhil's. Because remember, Chill, it's a mix of Nikhil, Ant, and Jaden, and Rudy that all has them all together.
Do you want to talk about it? No?
Okay.
All right.
We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. Talk about that later.
Yo, fellas, I want to ask you, did we talk about, I know you guys have spoke a little bit on what Minnesota's looked like so far this season. Have we talked about any potential external options for Minnesota? In terms of trade or anything like that?
I've brought up I would love Dennis Schroeder on there. The 2 moves I would try to make if I'm Minnesota.
Well, hold up, real talk. Before we even get into that, because I do want to get into that and I want to spin into that because I think Minnesota has the potential to get better. And we obviously know that they are in need of a point guard. And they've actively made that known.
It's the panel. Religion get built on cam. Where the check throw smoke and the host go ham. You ain't never seen hoops out hit the raw. Every take got weight, every night we drop. This that barbershop. Courtside, worldwide tone. Welcome to the only show that really feel like numbers jumping like the score.